Good morning to honorable judges. Today I would like to present to you an innovative teaching idea. It's called Reconnecting Learning, and I'm Dr. Sai Hoe. My team member is Dr. Chin Kin En. An overview of the Reconnecting Learning is about the descriptions and explanations of my idea and lead to the problem statement, the impact of the Reconnecting Learning, novelty and achievement of the idea. Our innovative teaching idea is called Reconnecting Learning, and Reconnecting Learning brands towards mathematics connective learning theories, Feinstein mediated learning experience. It is a 15-day course, and the content of the Reconnecting Learning is based on the ELPS sequence, which means that the E is the experience with the physical objects, L is spoken language, P is the picture that represents the experience, S is the written symbol that generalize the experience. And there is a three-step of teaching in Reconnecting Learning, which are demonstrations, mediations, and active learning. And Reconnecting Learning includes some of the soft skill like using the mnemonics, the chunking information, and set up the daily routine to help the learners to memorize, recall, and apply knowledge step by step. So basically, I will introduce what is dyscalculia because this reconnecting learning is related to teach dyscalculia. So actually, dyscalculia is a mathematic learning disability, is less known as dyslexia, and it can be called as a number blindness. Is about 3 to 6 of the populations they are struggling with dyscalculia, which means that 1 in 20 pupils in a classroom have dyscalculia. So they will encounter difficulties in processing numbers and representing numbers. However, their IQ is normal with their peers. So other names of the dyscalculia is about number blindness, math dyslexia, developmental dyscalculia, or mathematics learning difficulties. And the general characteristic of the dyscalculia, they will face difficulties in learning basic mathematics, for example, addition, subtractions, multiplications, and divisions. And they will find it very difficulties in counting money, understanding the data like the bar chart and the pie chart, and reading times is a very difficult task for them, and they cannot connect the number to its corresponding number words and quantity. And the most significant that they cannot do is they cannot choose the larger number, which means that they don't know about the digit value. And one of the most characteristic, they cannot subsidize. So the cause of the dyscalculia is about the genetic, the brain difference, and caused by the environment. And there is lots of, I have synthesized some of the interventions of the dyscalculia about the recent 10 years. It's about the hands-on experience, computer and software, and concrete representations, abstractions. Adaptive software is all about the tools to develop the tools to how to teach or help dyscalculic peoples. And it will lead to the problem statement is that people with dyscalculia have difficulties in learning basic numeracy skill, and dyscalculia has less mentioned in KPM policies, and teachers have never been exposed to the awareness of dyscalculia. They just have practiced repetitions and drilling to support the people with dyscalculia. And the people with dyscalculia will be neglected in their learning needs. So, an effective and efficient instructional approach and intervention are needed to help at-risk dyscalculic people in learning basic numeracy skill. Likewise, Monsai claims that there is no standard learning process in place for dyscalculic people to receive sufficient education support. That's why we need to do some interventions about my reconnecting learning. So the impact of the reconnecting learning is about at-risk dyscalculic people can learn mathematics. Of course, we didn't expect the at-risk dyscalculic people can perform as their peer in learning mathematics. We just hope reconnecting learning can help them to solve simple mathematics problem in their daily life. And dyscalculia is not a disease. At-risk dyscalculic people can learn mathematics through suitable intervention. Teaching at-risk dyscalculic people, we must consider about the contents, teaching strategies, and teaching material. And reconnecting learning is one of the practical interventions to help dyscalculic people to learn simple basic numeracy skill. So about the novelty of the reconnecting learning is divided into three parts. The first is the content support, so we may know what to teach. And then the second is the task support, how to teach. And the third is the learning material. We use a lot of various learning materials to support the teaching task. So continued with the example of the reconnecting learning to teach counting. Actually, counting is a speaking number words. It's a very highly complicated combinations of speaking number words, pointing at the object and the number at the last object. So we will start teaching from the subdiving, because the subdiving is a pre-counting skill or a precursor to counting. So subdiving is a skill that you see instantly a small amount without counting. So we will put the dots inside the shapes, and the dots are arranged in a line, and a dot is arranged in a scattered form to teach how to teach subdiving skill. It's because of when we teach counting, we need to teach the pupils with subdiving and the number sequence. And the number sequence is consists of the numerals, name of the numbers, sequence of the number words. After that, we will introduce the pupils with the counting principle. Is about the one-to-one correspondence, stable order rule, cardinal rule, abstractions rule, and the order irrelevance rule. Then we will move into the counting stage. It's about the pre-number skill, that one I mentioned before, the number sequence, subdiving. Then we will move to count all. Count all is starting from 1, and then count on starting from the number. And then after that is the count on with the larger number. After that is reckoning the number facts. And the last step is the flexibilities. For an example, the four dots here is the subdivision. When we can subdivide and look at one object, we can start to learn about count on 4, 5, 6, 7. If the count all strategy is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then after that we can teach them about the recurring number facts. When 4 plus 3 is equal to 7, that one is called a recurring number facts. Of course, there are a lot of counting strategies in reconnecting learnings. They are counting forward, counting backward, skip counting, 2, 5, and 10, move to count and point to count, and verbal counting, and sub-vocalizing counting, group counting, and finger counting. Of course, when we are teach remedials or at-risk dyscalculic peoples, we will come from the concrete stage to abstract stages, from the real objects, pictures of the real objects, use the counters to move into the chart, and then to the number line. So there is a lot of the teaching materials will be used in the reconnecting learnings, like colors, tiles, unifixed cubed, 100 charts, pattern block, snap cube, crucial root, two-sides counter. Is about what is the suitable teaching materials to teach that specific topic. So for an example, when we teach about numbers, we will teach about the cardinal numbers, the ordinal numbers, and put one of the language, Daisy buys 4 tomatoes, to use the literacy to support the quantities, to explain the quantity and the number words and the numerals. So about the reconnecting learning, there are 3 steps in the reconnecting learning. The first step is demonstration, which means that the teachers demonstrate the step to the pupil, and then mediated the meaning to the pupils, and then active learning is let the pupils to use or practice their skill, the mathematics skill in the active learning step. So the pupil roles, they need to recognize the learning process and do the repetitions of the learning process and use the language to do the reasonings. About the teacher's role, they need to demonstrate and then mediate the meaning to the pupils and facilitate the pupils when there is a active learning stage. About the communications mode, teacher needs to explain to the pupils and then question the pupils in the mediations, and then pupils need to do some simple reasonings to answer teachers' questions. About the learning materials, we can use the digital books, just like I mentioned before. The subsidizing precursors to counting, and use the dice or dominoes when mediations, and then use a board game in active learning. So actually, in reconnecting learnings, we have developed our teaching strategies and using different learning materials. Like, for examples, when we are teaching shapes, we are using different shapes. When we are teaching pre-number skills, we are using the dominoes, dice, and when we are teaching numbers, we are using number cards and using the counter stick and the counters to teach counting. When we are teach additions, we will introduce about the quantities, simple numbers and number words. And teaching subtractions, we will emphasize on the number representations. We will make sure there is a correct of the drawings of the subtractions and know about the concept of subtractions to teach that concept to the pupils.